that's not a call that they're going to want to take. If somebody called you and called because they wanted to introduce themselves and find out a bit more about you, you wouldn't take that call, right? So you need to start thinking about the objectives of your call. One of the things that blocks recruiters from achieving call success and hitting high call numbers is not really knowing why they're calling in the first place. It stops them wanting to pick up that phone because they're like, well, why am I actually calling this person? And this really came to light when I was coaching somebody and they had their list of people, and I was like, okay, cool, you've got your list of people there. Why haven't you called them? And they're like, well, I don't know why I'm calling them. I've just been given this list, and what am I supposed to say? Like, don't I don't want to make a fool of myself. How do I actually make these calls? So from then on, I kind of realised that actually, yeah, not everyone understands why they're calling people. And it also came to light as well when I was talking to somebody who was struggling to get any traction with the calls. And I was like, well, why are you calling? And well, I'm calling them to just find out a bit more about them and introduce myself. And I was like, oh, great. But how's that going to help you in the call? That's not a call that they're going to want to take. If somebody called you and called because they wanted to introduce themselves and find out a bit more about you, you wouldn't take that call, right? So you need to start thinking about the objectives of your call. Why are you actually calling this person? What is your reason for calling? Because this is what they're going to want to know. And it's quite easy to create a list of objectives for yourself. So the first thing I do is get people to write a list of objectives for them. What do they want to get out of this call? Why are you actually calling this prospect? And then look at that list and how many of those actually are benefiting that prospect. How many of them are going to make that prospect go, oh, this is actually a call I really want to take? Chances are none. You can have a list of 10 objectives that you want to get out of this call, and none of them are going to be benefiting that prospect. So we need to start thinking about what's an objective of the call that is going to interest that person I'm trying to call. Can we flip any of these calls, right, into interesting topics? So this is when research comes in. Start looking at the website, start looking at their LinkedIn, start looking at anything that you've got, any news articles that have got the company in. What can you latch onto that's going to spark interest in that prospect? So a nice one for contract especially is when you've seen that the company has won a new contract and you have worked a similar role, a similar contract for a client in a similar location. Because you can approach them saying, I've seen you've won this contract. I've actually recently worked with my client, and you can mention them, on this project, the name of the project, has credibility straight away. And I helped them bring in X, Y, and Z people for their project and then give them some stats, maybe give them some positive outcomes that happened. Just wondering if that would be of benefit to yourself. There's a great reason for them to go, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm interested because we have won that project and we do need people. And seem to know the people that can do that in this location. So there's a nice simple one. So start thinking about your objectives and how can you tweak them slightly to get it so that the prospect is actually going to want to listen. Because that's one of the biggest downfalls. I said it in the previous video, but if you're calling to introduce yourself and find out some information about that prospect, if you use that as your objective for the call and your reason for calling, they're going to tell you to go away because we wouldn't take that call. So why would they? They're super busy. They've got enough recruiters calling them. There's no value to them there at all. So that's one of the big challenges. So before you do every call, I would start to create those objectives. To make this slightly easier, because we've got that list of 100, if you're going to do that for each call, That's going to take you ages. So I tend to lump calls together. So all of the brand new BD, all of the first calls to a company, lump them together. Follow-up calls, CV spec calls, feedback calls, chasing up on offers, lapsed clients, and lump them all together. Create a list of objectives that you're going to want to get out of that because it's going to be very similar. So new BD, if you've never called them before, you're going to want to find out as much as possible. You're going to want to find out who the right person is, what their hiring process is, what type of people they like, how often they hire, what projects they do, and that sort of stuff. That's going to be the same for all of those. So you can lump all those together, create an objective, and then create a reason for calling, right? That's a chunk done already. So you chunk it in blocks rather than doing each individual call because otherwise it's going to take you hours to come and generate the same thing and make creative reason for calling for each person. So lump it together because you're going to have similar objectives on those calls and you're going to have a similar reason for calling on those calls. So in the next video, we're going to talk about openers and how we can twist those openers to make it so that people are actually going to be interested.